What's up, Suds? Thanks so much for clicking on my video and checking it out. This is video number 2 for my soap cupcakes. I made several mini cupcakes. They're like this big. When it snowed in Texas like a month ago or so, it snowed all over the South. So I decided to make mini cupcakes to give myself something to do. This is soap cupcake number 2. I'm using the fragrance oil orange soda, but I did the cupcakes just normal orange because I didn't think that the fragrance smelled like soda or a drink or anything like that. So I just went with an orange cupcake. This video is filmed a little bit different than my normal ones. My Sweetness's mom called him to make sure that we were okay. It was like the last day and the snow was starting to melt, but she wanted to make sure we were good and hadn't lost power or anything. So he was in the background of this video. I had to silence it and do a voiceover. But if you want to let me know if you prefer this video with the voiceover or my normal video where I actually talk during the video, that'd be super awesome to give me some feedback. I hope you enjoy it! So this is my second soap cupcake. I have already got my lye solution and my oils at about the same temperature. I am soaping a little bit hotter than normal. I think I was at like 102 or something, where I'm normally at about 85 to 90 degrees for my normal soap. Doing this will help the batter thicken a little bit more, a little bit faster. I also put in my lye water solution, I dissolved about a teaspoon or so of salt, and that will help the cupcakes unmold from the silicone liners a lot easier. When I unmolded the strawberries and cream cupcakes, I had a really hard time bringing the cupcakes out of the mold, so I added some salt to this soap to help unmold it faster. And it's just a replacement because I don't have any sodium lactate at home. I've run out of it. So I use salt instead, which sodium lactate is a byproduct of salt, so you can typically use table salt as a cheaper alternative or replacement when you need to. So I blended until my soap was completely emulsified, but not at a trace. With this stick blender, I can't get my soap to a trace, unfortunately, but I didn't know that at the time. So I'm using my spatula to check what trace that my soap is at, and the answer is not really at a trace, it's still just at emulsion. It might have been at a really light trace. So the next thing I'm going to do is add my colorant, which I am using Mango Tango from Nurture Soap. It's usually a really bright, vibrant orange, and since this is an orange flavored cupcake, I wanted a really bright, vibrant orange color to match the orange scent. I don't know why I used my scale to measure my colorant, because I don't usually do that. I must have just got confused and did that. But now that I've added the dry mica, I'm going to blend it with my mixer until it's completely dispersed into the soap. And the reason I added the mica dry, which I'll be doing for all of my cupcakes, instead of diluting it with oil like I normally do, is because adding dry mica tends to accelerate trace. So I'm trying to do everything that I can to accelerate the trace. That way I don't have to wait for the soap to thicken, which is the only other thing that I would be able to do. My stick blender is a little bit too big to stick blend this small batch of soap, so it's just a lot easier to use my tiny stick blender and let the soap sit for a little while to thicken. But since I'm super impatient, I don't really want to do that, so that's why I'm adding a lot of things and doing things a little bit different, that I'm trying to make the soap accelerate a little bit more. So once my colorant is completely dispersed into the soap and mixed in super good, I'm going to add my fragrance oil, which I am using Brambleberry's orange soda. I got it right before they discontinued it. I was hoping it would smell kind of soda-y and carbonated a little bit. I'm not sure how you would do that, but that's kind of what I was expecting with orange soda. But unfortunately, it just smells like regular oranges. It doesn't smell particularly sweet or anything like that. I added 0.3 ounces of fragrance oil for this, which is the correct usage. It's about 5% of the usage rate. The usage rate is about 5% of the soap oils which adds up to about 0.3 ounces. I originally, since I hadn't smelled the fragrance oil yet and I wanted to use this fragrance, I wanted to do an orange and white soap with some white salt on the very top to show the carbonated effect of the soap, of the fragrance oil. But I kind of ditched that idea, sort of, after I realized that it didn't smell like soda, it just smelled like oranges. My frosting did come out a little bit weird because I still wanted to do something with it, and you'll see that later on how I completely messed that up. But for now I'm going to mix in my fragrance oil. It does not discolor and it does not accelerate according to the notes. Unfortunately, I did try to check on Brambleberry's website because they discontinued this fragrance somewhat recently in the last year or so. And since they discontinued it, they completely took the fragrance off of their website. So I can't even see what it normally would have discolored to or any of their notes. Once my fragrance oil is completely dispersed into the soap batter, I used my spatula to again check how thick the trace was, because I don't want these cupcakes to be super fluid and thin when I pour them into the mold. And once I was happy with the trace, I started to pour them in. I'm going to pour the batter to the very top, or as close to the top of the cupcake liner as I can. Unlike normal cupcakes that you bake and eat, the top level of these cupcakes won't change. They won't sink as they sit, and they won't rise like normal cupcakes do. So the level that I fill them up while the soap is wet is going to be the level that they stay at. So directly after I poured those cupcakes, I started working on the frosting for the icing. I also soaped a little bit high, about 105 or so, which is still a little bit cool for what I'm trying to accomplish, which again is the acceleration of the soap. It's still a little bit cold for it to noticeably accelerate. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm stick blending until the oils and lye water are emulsified. And I'm trying to get to a thin or medium trace with my blender, which isn't going to happen. But I don't end up figuring that out until I'm all done with all of my cupcakes. And that's when I figure out that this tiny stick blender is not strong enough to actually trace any of the soaps. At this point, I've already added my 0.3 ounces of orange soda into the entire batter. For the frosting, I wanted to do an in-the-pot swirl and see how that would come out. So what I did was separate my batter. I'm going to do this smaller portion is going to be 1/4 of the batter, and it will be orange. And then the other 3/4 of the batter I'm going to be dyeing white. Now that I have my batter separated out, I'm going to dye the smaller 1/4 container Mango Tango again. And my bigger 3/4 container, I will be dyeing it white with a white pale mica. I'm using about 1/8 of a teaspoon. I don't have 1/8 of a teaspoon measurement, however, so I kind of eyeballed my 1/4 teaspoon measurement and added in the dry mica into that smaller batch in the hopes that it would thicken and accelerate trace a little bit. For my bigger 3/4 container, I'm going to be using this pearl mica that I got from Rom Decor. I got my little package with all of these micas from Amazon. I did not want to do a titanium dioxide for the bigger container because I didn't want it to be a stark white, the way my frosting for the strawberries and cream was a very noticeable white color. I wanted this to be more of like a shimmery style white. I still kind of had in my head a couple of ideas that I had wanted to do for the orange soda, but since I changed this to just an orange soap, I still kind of wanted to add in the shimmery, almost soda-ish color that I would have added if it had been a soda fragrance, soda smelling fragrance instead of just a plain fruit. So because I'm making an in-the-pot swirl for the frosting, I need the batter to be somewhat thin. So right now I'm checking my consistency and my trace for these two soap batters. Something to remember if you ever decide to do an in-the-pot swirl is that it's really easy to mess up. If you have too much of one color, or in general too many colors, they can get muddied and blend together, especially if the batter is not thick enough. And it can also happen if you mix the colorants together. If you mix the soap batter together too much, then they don't separate. The two colors do not stay separated. They kind of blend into one color. So I think my soap batter was thick enough, but I put way too much orange into the soap batter. I probably should have stopped at the first 2, maybe 3 pours and not done that last little topping on the very top of the soap. It also did not help that I ended up picking up my frosting bag too early and the soap batter was too thin, similarly to what I did with the strawberry cupcakes, and it just kind of blended a lot of that orange and white together. So the frosting for my orange cupcakes did not come out that great. But now that I know, now I have learned from it. You can kind of see that my frosting, there's not any distinctive differences between the orange and the white. It just looks like kind of a pale orange, maybe a pinkish, depending on how you look at it. I think the frosting came out a little bit pink. I just kind of all around messed up this icing. So that was my orange soap cupcake. This is what a couple of them look like. The color has faded a lot. You can definitely tell the difference between when I first poured, especially on the bottom, how it was a really bright, vibrant orange, mango orange, and now it's just kind of faded. I'm pretty sure it's just soda ash, because if you can see in between the crinkles, you can see that it looks a little bit brighter. So I just need to figure out how to get the soda ash off of the cupcake because it's such a weird shape. The icing, however, I'm pretty sure this is the color of the icing. I don't think it's going to change that much. I just mixed the white in way too much. I still do want to try an in-the-pot swirl for the icing. I think that would be super duper duper cool if I can get it to work. So I have a couple of ideas that I want to kind of try out, different from what I did today, or in this video. But I think they still came out pretty alright, considering they're my second cupcake. And they still smell pretty good. They smell like orange and citrus. And the icing you can see just a little bit, tiny bit. You probably can't see it on the camera, but the white came out in little tiny stripes. So there's a couple of places where you can see the pearl mica in comparison to the orange mica. So hopefully I'll be able to figure out how to get the soda ash off, especially on the icing. But this is my orange soap cupcake, and I'll be uploading my next cupcake, which is fresh bamboo. I had some trouble with that one also. I'll be uploading that video to YouTube soon. So if you liked this video, let me know by leaving a like. That's how I know you liked it. Otherwise, I think you just didn't like it and it wasn't that great. And let me know what you think about the voiceover compared to talking like I normally do in the video, because this is a new thing for me also that I'm doing. I hope you have an awesome day. Bye!